We're going to rank the Arcarum summons and characters. Huzzah! I'll be rating them based on their FLBs and with quick mentions of their uses in their MLB forms if I feel it's relevant. You get the deal. Note, 3 of these characters got rebalanced recently, yada yada yada, you get it. Let's start with the summons. We'll be breaking them up into 2 categories, amplification summons and health summons. As a baseline, amplification summons are at least 2 stars. Their sub-aura is free damage as long as you're on element, which makes them an automatic pick. The 2 that go up and beyond, however, are the Sun and Death. The Sun grants fire teams double strike on the first 3 characters, which is a powerful enough effect that they can be brought to content where their sub-aura isn't helpful for things like multi-hit omens or for burst. Death's Call can kill off the 4th member of the party, which can bring in characters that need to come in from the back line, such as Evokers. By using a dark main summon, usually Bahamut or Beelzebub, every element can use this to bring powerful characters to the front line on the first turn. The Hangman, the Moon, the Star and Judgment have calls that vary from overshadowed by more powerful summons to essentially useless. Health summons do have a useful sub-aura, and they're the strongest option for simple bulk HP. The issue is that with a limited number of summon slots, they are usually the first to get booted. The main summons that they generally compete against are 6D summons for bulking up the grid from the subslots. For Primal the choice is usually the 6D summon, but for Magna they remain uncontested. The only notable call from the 4 is Justice, which has a call useful enough to be brought in every element. The ability to even out all health bars of the party even through debuffs such as Zombify can save characters in situations where they would otherwise be dead. It also serves as a great way to get every drop of healing out of team-wide heals and blue potions if sustain is a major concern. Temperance, the Devil, and the Tower all have mediocre calls that are generally not worth using. Now that we've got the summons out of the way, it's time to move on to the Evokers. I don't have all of them, but I'll be honest, I can survive with the ones I don't have. Maria Theresa. Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't have much good to say about her. She has 2 main gimmicks, being Dispels and her full heal. With her FLB, as long as you have something to dispel, she can throw out her CA every turn, which in turn resets the cooldown on her Dispel. This is fairly strong, but it's very context dependent. The second gimmick is her full heal, which eats up 2 of her skills, essentially forcing her into being a dedicated endgame character. Other than that, she has some small passive effects and her Harvest Shield skill, which if you've seen my thoughts on Uno you should already know is pretty mediocre. Her flip ability with her FLB is fairly powerful, but again, a full heal has limited usability in content outside of endgame raids, especially when her kit is so mediocre otherwise. Genuinely her best feature is her sub-ally skill, adding a debuff applying nuke to dispel skills on better characters. Yikes. Geen is the world's strongest 12-year-old. With his FLB, he casually makes your whole team unkillable with his elemental switch and 100% defense buff, provides free echoes and regen, and gives every character enough perp attack to hit cap on everything. He also provides a free clear every turn as long as a character has enough buffs. This is all before talking about his skills, which make him a jack of all trades, master of all. Secret Hands is an incredibly powerful skill that allows Geen to turn himself into a burst machine, potion generator, or to even progress turns whenever he likes, which is complemented by his blank card and beginning of Joker skills. His double deal is also extremely powerful as a one-time tool, being a pseudo-chilling for 1 skill on each party member. This toolbox-like kit means he can contribute to a majority of the omens in the game. Even disregarding that, he can be your 11th grid slot if you so choose him to be, even at MLB. The next character up is Nier, who's a favorite amongst fellow Versus players for all the wrong reasons. She's a character that's split up between 2 worlds of burst and difficult content, but unlike some characters where this is a downside, Nier is strong enough to make it work. She's primarily used as an intentional swap in who applies her Eternal Vow to the MC before eventually dying herself, granting the team survivability through thirsting and beloved while she's alive. This grants the MC a large 6-hit nuke after every normal attack, which is extremely helpful for damage and essentially allows you to run 4.5 characters. This is all assuming the boss doesn't harshly punish characters dying, however, as those kinds of mechanics can greatly put a damper on Nier's effectiveness. Other than this, her main use is her World of Death and Love field and her Unfinished Business debuff being great for bursting, which is extremely potent, although a little clicky. Esera is notable for his extremely unique kit where he will spend most of his turns asleep, doing absolutely nothing. He does, however, automatically use his skills when certain conditions are met, those being at the end of the turn, upon the enemy using a special attack and upon taking damage. These are decently common in V1 content, but he does falter for V2 content where all of his skills activate too late for cancelling omens. This leaves him in an awkward spot where he isn't functional for V2 raids where cancelling omens are a must, but he isn't high enough damage for most V1 content. Where he finds most uses for guild war for meat farming and full autos thanks to a dispel being attached to his end of turn. The real strength of his FLB is his backline passive, which allows charge attack comps to have a high uptime on free charge bar and echoes, which isn't mandatory for anything but is valuable for easier omen cancelling if you're good at paying attention to what buffs you have and don't have. Fro is Fire's only good healer. She also has fairly good consistent skill damage, and she comes with a dispel. That's it. She's pretty good. Her sub-ally skills aren't great, I guess. She's strong enough on the front line that you would want her there. What do you want from me? There's not much to work with here. Lilo loves breaking things, both people and the game when paired with certain characters. His main mechanic is his link skills and magic crests, essentially giving him a resource system for his more powerful skills. His spammable destructive urges is great for giving him consistent auto damage and increasing his crests, while his Warbringer is the main way to spend crests, reducing the cooldowns of every party member by 3 turns. His Renegade Firebrand is a buff skill that allows all allies to activate a nuke whenever they click a skill. Partition Dare is the only non-link skill, mostly acting as a vanilla nuke that Lilo can reduce the cooldown on often. When paired with characters with powerful skills that have restrictive cooldowns, Lilo can really make them shine even at MLB, but his more clicky, intended playstyle is a bit cumbersome. If all fails, he still has great buffs from the backline with his domain and FLB. Geisenborger is too angry to die as long as he has his friends cheering him on. He is most notable for I'll Bet My Soul, which gives him a permanent undying that can be extended by casting yellow or green skills onto him. Panzerfaust and Dreadnought allow him to increase his hostility and substitute, respectively, allowing him to utilize his Undying to take hits for the team, while his Prey Upon the Star allows him to push damage with a relatively good uptime double strike as long as he continues to charge attack. This alongside his free assassin every turn and quad attacks, making him a great choice for being the first slot in the backline for endgame raids, helping you recover if something goes terribly wrong. His MLB does still allow him to tank for the team, but the damage boost in his FLB is undeniable. His sub-ally skill at MLB is crucial at some moments, but in most endgame fights it is mostly useless. His FLB addition is great though, and makes him a good choice for FA setups for things like Guild War. Ofelia is completely busted. Her main gimmick is the moon buff, which becomes stronger the longer it lasts, gaining additional effects going from crescent to quarter to full. With her FLB and her new World Foundation weapon, she can casually grant 50% unique attack, 40% damage cap, a 20% and 40% echo, various defense buffs, and her iconic nuke on normal attack. On top of that, she's Water's best Oogie battery with her resetting S3. Her link skills aren't anything to be sneezed at either, with her permanent debuff also reducing debuff resistance, and her S2 being a great tool for saving 2 teammates from eating damage on a 5-turn cooldown. The only downside of Ofelia is that her sub-ally skill isn't particularly good, but honestly, that just makes you want to bring her to the front more. Sounds like a win to me. Alanon is similar to Nier, where his kit is split between 2 worlds and he casually does great in both. His field and all his skills are very oriented towards normal attack-based burst, where he grants echoes and applies debuffs to the enemy alongside bringing a field perfect for burst. His passives are more oriented towards survivability with his various healing specs, defense boost and drain. With his FLB, he isn't used as a more traditional burst character but one who comes in from the backline intentionally, whether it be careful HP management or with Regazzo, helping push more damage once your regular burst buttons are on cooldown. He also brings a powerful 100% defense and drain buff to keep your team topped off. His sub-ally skill gives more survivability, granting 20% heal specs and a conditional clear plus buff on characters with a DOT on them. Overall, Alanon is fairly awkward but worthwhile to fit into teams if you can. Just make sure to bring clarity for that shorted. Catelia is the king of endgame. 100% defense boost and free DA/TA from his first skill. Earth switch with an earth damage lowered on his charge attack. 30% earth damage reduction from his NWF weapon. His passives grant him healing and buffs. He boosts charge bar. He also gets a free nuke every time someone is granted a bar boost when they have full bar, which can be abused into another dimension with certain other characters. His nuke even comes with a debuff, allowing Wind to get around the main omen they struggle with in endgame fights. His sub-ally skill is also amazing. He's perfect and completely balanced, trust me, I would know. Overall, the Evokers definitely have more of a solid position than the Eternals, mostly thanks to the need for them to come from the sub-ally slot, allowing Cygames to give them a little bit more power. Although this makes them a little unwieldy, it's worth trying to get them out to the front, especially in endgame content. If anything, some of these characters are practically mandatory if you want to have a good time, so I definitely think they're worth the sands and sunstones. I do have one question though. What in the world are they feeding Harvins and Galgenia?